So here's an update on the automation that I've been trying to get together for Torbay Sands. Here's the turntable under manual control, but it also responds to MQTT commands from JMRI. Above it is the Raspberry Pi and camera system that I put together with code from an Instructable on the Instructable's website. So that basically looks down on portions of the layout, and there's a web interface here where you can take reference images of that portion of the layout empty, so it knows what it looks like empty, and it basically plays spot the difference with the live image, so it can tell what portions of the layout are occupied. You can see here how virtual block and dot sensors can be placed and moved around, each representing an MQTT sensor in JMRI. Since this system is vulnerable to changes in lighting conditions though, I chose an ESP32 and some current sensors for block detection on the drop-down bridge across the door to the garden, with an infrared gate at the holding point. So this is the current version of the dispatcher that I've put together in Jython, so I can launch it through JMRI. At startup in the center here, I've got a confirmation of the folder that the dispatcher is looking in for the journey files I've created. So each journey has a separate script that the dispatcher launches. So to start building a journey, you basically work from left to right on this top bar here. You can start with a pause if that's what you want to do on this particular journey. I'm not for this journey in particular, but we'll come back to that. In this instance, I'm going from the bay platform and I'm going to go to the turntable. So I've got a storage turntable at the other end of the layout that you've already seen. I'm going to select the road, in this case DD only. So each of the 5 storage roads on the turntable are labelled A to E, and the opposite ends of those same roads are double letters, so double A to double E. And in this turntable destination drop down is just different ways of expressing how I want the train to enter the turntable and whether it occupies a full road or just a half a road for shorter trains. So I'm working my way along and I'm going to select the rail car as the main loco in a forward direction. I don't need any sound because there's sound on board with that loco, but if I did, I can select some of the rolling stock there that has sound on board. The notes will appear at the end of the journey and displayed at the centre of the screen there in the journey status tracker. So I can leave myself a note at the end of each journey or a reminder of what I need to do before continuing on to the next journey. So in this case, I'm going to start the next journey with a pause that requires a double ding on the ding sensor to proceed. So it's just a reminder there before the next journey starts, and I can just hit add to playlist. Then I can go ahead and build the second journey. So I'm going to begin this journey by having it wait for a double ding, as we set ourselves a reminder for in the note at the end of the previous journey. So this is probably more useful if you are having to manually run a loco around a train at a station. And you can run that round, couple it up, and tell the dispatcher that you're ready to proceed and you're ready for it to take the train away or move on with the playlist. This time we're going to have a train move from the turntable, specifically from road B, and that will be going out to the station. Now to select the platform for the station, that's done by setting the correct home signal, whether that be the bay signal arm or the main signal arm. So hence there's no selection here for each platform as a destination. I've got a drop down here. If the train is signalled into the main platform, I can select whether I want it to stop roughly in the middle of the platform or slightly short so it can run around the train or to occupy the full platform. This is going to be the large prairie in the forwards direction. I do need sound because there's no sound on board that prairie, and that's the milk train Doesn't matter what direction that's going in because there's no motion associated with that decoder. And here I'm just going to write a note for when that journey is complete. So on the next journey, I'm going to put in a 15-second delay before the next event in the dispatcher kicks in. So there's a reminder. I have got the option to leave the sound on that decoder at the end of the journey rather than switch it off. But I'm going to leave that off on this occasion. And I can go ahead and add that to the playlist. Now for the final example, as I left in the note at the end of the previous journey, I'm going to start this journey with a time pause of 15 seconds. And this journey is going to be from the turntable, road D. And it's going to go to the station. And I'm going to select the rail car in the forward direction. Don't need any extra sound there. And I'm going to leave an example note there for the end of that journey. And add that to the playlist. So I'm going to go ahead and run the playlist. It'll run through each journey sequentially. So you can see in the middle the status of this journey. I've just put it in a little box here to the right so you can see what's going on. These are various printouts from the individual journey scripts so you can keep a track of where that script currently is in the sequence. The trains will obey the signals. So I can clear the signals here, and that instigates the various sounds there that I've written for that script. And that's again specific to each loco. The script looks up from that sound reference table whether the particular sound requested exists, and if it does, it will play it, and if it doesn't, it simply moves on. On the top left, you can keep a track of the detection, but you can see the detection's a little bit flaky at the moment. There's some flashing here and there. Probably needs a bit more debounce in them somewhere. The signal's automatically clear when the locos pass, and you can see on the throttle bottom left there, you can keep a track of what's going on with the speed and the ramping and the various functions that are being highlighted. So the rail car's just approaching the storage turntable there, and the sound fades out. This depends whether it's a steam loco or a diesel loco, and whether it's got a separate mute function versus just turning the sound on and off. Again, referencing the sound reference script. And it comes to a dead stop, because I've programmed that just to use that half of that road. So we take a look at the dispatcher again full screen. That journey is finished, disappears from the playlist, and you can see our note there: rail car arrived at turntable, double ding to send milk train. So this activates the next script in the playlist. The correct road on the turntable is selected. The script waits for feedback from the turntable to confirm that it's arrived at the correct road before proceeding. The sound fades in just before it reaches the main scenic area. You can see some oddities in detection there. The goods line for the dairy depot briefly activated as it passed on the main line. So it's not perfect, it needs a little bit of work. But it seems to be good enough for reliable running on the whole. So here the train's obeyed the stop signal. There's a little ding just to let you know it's waiting for the signal to go green, which I've done. for the main platform here. And at that point it sets the routes for the remainder of the route around the main station. For this train I've selected the full length of the platform in the dispatcher when I built this journey. So that goes to the very end there. So that journey is complete, and it again disappears from the dispatcher. And you can see from the note that the rail car's returning in 15 seconds. And on the left you can see the remainder of the countdown there. 3, 2, 1. Again, the turntable moves to the correct road for the departure of the rail car. The mute was activated first, as you can see bottom left, followed by the sound on F1, so that the sound is already active, so that the mute is already active at the time the sound is switched on. But as it approaches the scenic area, the mute function smoothly fades up the sound. I've got the bay signal already selected off here, so it's going to go straight through. So this just allows me to step back occasionally and just watch trains run, which is kind of nice sometimes, since with an end-to-end arrangement you don't always get that opportunity, yet it allows for a bit of interaction as well. So I think I can say that's mission accomplished.